this works out for everybody. We'd like to start today with a little bit of note before we get started. We're not here today that you should take what we're saying as what you should do in your families or what you should do with your friend circles or in your network. There are many in your lives that have already decided to make choices in their lives to not be in the faith anymore. And we're here to talk about what's worked for us, what's worked for our family, and what's worked for our friends. This may differ from what may work or has worked with your family. So if you'll keep that in mind, the messages that we talk about today, perhaps think about that along the lens of how will this work in my family? How will this work in my network? How will this work with my friends and family? Our goal today is to share a little bit about what's worked for us, but more importantly, to point you to the Savior. We want to also emphasize today that the key to anything and everything we say today is rooted in love. Those that are close to us, our family, our friends, it all starts with our love for them, our deep and abiding love for them. Raise your hand if you've experienced someone that you care about deeply who does not believe the same things that you do anymore. I see a lot of you out there. I think many of you have a variety of experiences here, and we do too. It's very much been part of it. I see hands waving in the back. This has very much been a part of our family as well. This can be difficult. I imagine that your stories are very difficult too. You're unsure about why things have happened the way that they've happened. Fingers crossed that this is going to work. Okay, looks like we've got it working. Yay. Thank you, tech people. Now we will share our screens with the rest. Thank you so much for your help. Appreciate it. Brothers and sisters, I believe that we all share the same experience. Many of us who have had friends or family who have left the faith, but our response to it and our reactions to it are certainly going to be different. Right, how we react. There was a question from the audience, what does this mean? I can react in a certain way. I can be sad. I can be angry. I can be very emotional. So we're talking about our reactions.
So let me talk about one of our children who decided to leave the church because of political reasons. Hang on. Yeah. So let me explain about our kids. So our second child left. My first response was, why? Why would you do that? And how do you think my children felt about that? It's my decision. It's my journey. I need to understand for myself. And I just responded by, why? Why are you doing this? And yeah, I was upset. That was my reaction. What is your reaction as you look back? What can you do?
Let's talk a little bit about our family. We have a unique family. I'll talk to you about each of our children. Zoe is gone on a mission. She's back. She's now living in Florida. We don't see her often, but the five that are shown here are still with us. You can see Zoe. She's the oldest, and she's on the right. Honor is 9 now, and this is who Robert was just talking about. She's been relatively straightforward about her choices. We love her, and we love everything about her. Our next is 17, excuse me. He's a senior. And he's the one that people say look like me, and I think that that's probably true. He looks the most like me. Our next is 11. The blonde blue-eyed one here. She is 8, and she'll be 9 any day now. And then our last is 6. I'll talk a little bit about Honor really quick. She made the decision that she did not want to be part of the church anymore. And I was rather taken aback by that. Let me just tell you a little bit about their background before we go forward with that. Robert, our first 2 children are from Robert's previous marriage, and the last 3 are from our marriage. So we're a blended family. The oldest two, their mother passed away unexpectedly. And our oldest has been active for years, was very involved in the young women's programs, was a class president, was always the first to get up and share her testimony for a fast and testimony meeting. She was never afraid to share her feelings about the gospel. So when she made a decision to step away, and her mother passed away, which she didn't have a really close relationship with her mother, and that kind of precipitated her decision to step away. We thought that our son would have been the most angry when his mother passed away, but it turns out that our oldest was. She hid a lot, and she became angry very quickly. She was angry at God and didn't want to have anything to do with him anymore if this is the way that her life was going to go. She started getting into literature that was not conducive to the faith, and I was blown away by that unexpected behavior. That's been the part of our journey, and that's where she's gone as well. It's been tough for me, and it's still a little bit raw for me, if I'm honest. We also have other family members, brothers and sisters, siblings who've also left the faith as well, and are in a variety of places in their feelings and perceptions of the church, and they are where they are. So we had to make decisions as a family, and we've rooted those decisions in love. We have open and very healthy dialogue with these siblings and members of our family. It's not easy, of course. And something that we've learned along the way is that all of our relationships and everything we do is rooted first and foremost in love.
Like I was talking about before, why would you, telling the children, why would you leave? In late 2020, still kind of COVID time, didn't have an opportunity to really connect because the temple was closed. At home, we kind of struggled with the kids all over the place, trying to take care of them. As time went by, when things started opening again, we could finally go to the temple. First of all, I thought, I need to ask God, what do I do? And his simple answer was, show love. That's all you can do. You just love them. I thought, that's it. That's all. I need to do more. I need more. Tell me more to do. That answer was so quick. I need more. And the simple answer came again, no. Show love. And that's kind of when I stepped back and looked at everything, and my perspective changed. Not just that, but all of my children. And it caused me to think a lot, to ponder. And I remember nights when, it seemed like overnight my heart became softer, and I felt this more deeper connection. And I see how that can be rough. And I think in the back of my mind, you just have to show love. And we talked together, and she was like, yeah, okay. So there was a lot of counseling between the two of us. And the more change happened when we realized that love was the key to everything.
I think Robert took that answer a little faster than I did, to be honest. It took me a long time to get to the place where I am now, is to begin processing all of this and thinking about how I put love first in my decisions as well. We told the children that we're here to love them. We're here to support them. We're here no matter what they go through. And it took me a long time to get to that point, if I'm honest. I was very clear in my own head that they were all going to be back at some point. We were going to have this perfect Mormon family. You've been raised well, you should know better, is what I thought. That's where I was at the beginning of this, and that really wasn't a healthy place to be to as we started. I had a specific vision for my children, specifically for Honor. I thought that she would do these things and go these places, that she'd graduate from college and she'd go off and meet this wonderful young man who was a returned missionary, and they would be married in the temple, and all of the perfect things that Mormon families sometimes aspire to be. And that's not what happened. And that's what I was told wasn't going to be. My dream for her was not her dream for her. which is a very selfish way of thinking. And I had to let go of that. It was very difficult to work through that in my own process, but I'm grateful that I've been able to do that.
As soon as we could let go, we started to look at things and understand from their journey and what the intentions were. So we started talking with them. We started asking them questions. How do you feel? What can we do to support you? And it was more this opening conversation like adults. And I was like, okay, you're making choices, then those choices will influence you, but they have to fit you. And also on top of that, with honor, with Baz, our oldest son, there were some struggles. And sometimes he was back and forth about this or that. Honor would tell him one thing, his friends would tell him another thing, and he was lost. He kind of developed this I don't care attitude, whatever attitude. His journey was a little bit different. Wasn't exactly maybe even what he wanted, but I did as much as I could to counsel him and help him make decisions and ask him how he felt about them. And he's like, no, I don't feel good. I don't want that again. Okay. So how do you improve? If you don't want that again, how do you change that? And because of Stephanie's counsel, it influenced how I thought about things. And I started focusing on the long-term thing rather than the short-term things. Well, yeah, we don't want the kids away, but we realized that there's more to that.
Something that I learned was to ask questions, unabashedly ask questions, not tell them what to do, but ask questions about what they're thinking about, what they wanted to do. After our oldest decided to step away from the faith, my largest concern for her was really, and for all of us as a family, was this. Will her choices affect our other children? Will it cause them to make similar types of choices or do what Honor is doing? And we worried about that as a couple. I started to be very concerned about that. And if I'm honest, I felt a little bit personally rejected in the process. I thought that if you're going to make those decisions, what does that say about me? But that really opened up to a place of dialogue and discussion between us. It was much more healthy.
Let me give you an example of that. She wrote a letter to the church headquarters and asked for her name to be removed. That letter came back to our home. And I kind of knew what the letter looked like because I had been divorced, and I just kind of put it aside. One Sunday I showed up and I saw in the mail, something in the mail showed up, kind of a celebration. I didn't want to support her actions, but it was kind of in front of the family, and we were like, what's going on? A short time later, the answer came, oh, you didn't like my actions. Well, that's where we have to kind of be careful what kind of support that we give, what kind of disagreements that we show. We should be humble about things and go forward, but recognize that their celebration is not our celebration. And that's what we have to do.
Interesting part of this story, Honor came to me personally at a point in a quiet place and said, I'm sorry that I did this in front of everybody and kind of made a big thing about it. I apologize. And I should not have done that. I appreciated that, but she had come to me in a private space afterwards to tell me that. So, brothers and sisters, this is for you to think about, not necessarily to answer. This is not audience participation at this point, but perhaps think about this question. If you have a family member or a friend or someone who stopped believing, why did you react the way that you did? Think about that for a moment. My reaction led to a place where we were able to have an open discussion. Perhaps you can explain to your loved one or to your friend, maybe you reacted because of a fear or maybe you reacted out of a place of feeling rejected or anger. This is a good place for having an open discussion so that there's empathy and understanding that's going on rather than making it a one-way discussion.
Just something about Honor. She's very strong politically. I'm aware of what's going on with politics in the world, but she would come to me and say, "Oh," and I always appreciated that. And I was able to give some church perspective too. And I could tell she was like, "Yeah, oh yeah, I agree 100%." But that she didn't realize that all that the church has taught us is what she's just done. So it's kind of the way she discovers her journey. She's not seeing things, but we give small, tiny tidbits to keep her in our family. And we'd rather do that than push her away. We don't want that. We want our home to be open for everyone who comes in to feel comfortable and warm and wanted and valued. There's been some feelings with pride that have cropped up with one son that's been kind of cranky with some stuff, but we'll give him time. But I guess the point is, if you recognize their feelings, and she's really good at recognizing feelings quickly than I am, she'll say, that probably wasn't the best way to handle that. Go talk with them. And I'm like, what did I say? She's like, go do your fatherly duty, and so I end up talking with them and giving advice and handling questions. And that keeps our relationship alive. It keeps it, and it allows us to improve our communication. Whereas before I was so dismissive and did not even consider their comments at all. It was my home. It was my problem. And it affected me emotionally, affected the children, affected her. And I didn't quite know how to take that. So it just kind of depends. So it's important you recognize that anger is there, but push it away for a second and just love them and hold them and say, okay, how do I help this? And they'll feel good about expressing that. No, don't just dismiss their feelings.
Developing that type of relationship is key. Make sure that your relationship is more important than anything else. Make it not about my belief or your belief, but make it about our relationship. That's critical in maintaining the health of this.
You'd be surprised how well it can work. And if we say, hey, yeah, I totally understand where you're going. Yeah, service is great. It's wonderful. It makes you feel good, right? Oh yeah, it feels so good. I so like it. It's important you cooperate and you give them small tidbits and be their advocate. And you'll see how that affects them. And then how, like for a service example, for example, they want to do more. It's so great to develop that and to tie that all together. And then